if you could upgrade your body's operating system to stop aging in its tracks? Biohacking isn't just for tech moguls. It's about using different tools like continuous glucose monitors to see your blood sugar in real time and red light therapy to recharge your cells at the mitochondrial level. Most people are accidentally sabotaging their sleep with exposure to blue light. Today, I'm going to teach you how to flip the switch. I'm breaking down the tech and simple habits that are going to give you an unfair advantage in how you look and feel. Now, biohacking is the practice of using science, data, and trying to optimize physical and mental performance. It spans broad spectrum from foundational lifestyle modifications like optimizing sleep to high-tech options. Core difference between biohacking and basic healthy living is the intense reliance on data and continuous optimization. Now, one little precaution here, there can be some extreme and unproven practices in the biohacking sphere. Some of these can actually be hazardous, and it's really important if you have specific health concerns to discuss them with your doctor and share any ideas that you're thinking of implementing. The material that we present here is informational in nature, so there's no specific diagnosis or treatment. Let's look at some of the common tools and techniques. Data tracking. Some of those can be CGMs or continuous glucose monitors, smart rings, fitness trackers. These monitor real-time metabolic and sleep markers. You can modify the environment. Blue light blocking glasses, red light therapy, cryotherapy, all aimed at managing your circadian rhythms and reducing systemic inflammation. So let's start out talking about light levels. Melatonin is a hormone that helps you to regulate your sleep-wake cycles. And the amount of light present is going to affect melatonin production. In order to sleep properly, you need complete darkness. As little as 6 lux, which is a very small amount, can interfere with the release of that melatonin hormone. You can use blackout shades and sleep masks to help with this. Also, think about any electronics that you might have, like maybe a clock or something that has a little light, and you can cover those lighted areas to reduce the light. You need natural light shortly after waking. So this is kind of like the hormone handoff. We're going to stop the activity of the melatonin, and we want a nice cortisol spike to get the day started. So ideally, you want to be exposed to bright natural light with 30 to 60 minutes, within 30 to 60 minutes from waking. That should be for 5 to 10 minutes on a nice, bright, clear day. If it's cloudy, you might need 15 to 30 minutes in order to get the same hormonal effect. So the melatonin helps you sleep properly. Cortisol should spike in the morning to help you get ready to start the day. I put a citation in the description of a journal article about this. Blue light, I mentioned blue light blocking glasses. Maybe you've heard about blue light blocking. Why do we care about blue light? What's up with that? Blue light can actually disrupt sleep patterns, fires up the brain, and makes you more alert. Well, that's very nice if you're out and about doing something. And by the way, blue light is part of the natural light spectrum. All of your screens, phone, tablet, television, computer, digital reader, they all emit blue light. So you can get blue light blocking filters for those screens. I have blue light filters on pretty much everything except my television. It's just because a matter of practicality, it's a much, much bigger blue light blocking filter that I would need for the TV. So these emit blue light and that can disrupt sleep. Lots of light bulbs also emit blue light. LEDs have a blue light component because they have an LED chip coated with a specific phosphor to create white light. They don't pose a physical threat or anything to your eyes, but the peak emissions in the amount of blue light that they release can disrupt your sleep cycle if you use it too close to bedtime. Now, I looked and you can find, in a search, you can find light bulbs that explicitly are lower in that blue light level. So those might be a good option to put up in your bedroom area if, like me, you enjoy reading before bed. And by the way, actual paper books are better than the digital readers because we just talked about how those digital screens have blue light. So use actual physical books and light bulbs that don't emit as much of the blue light. Incandescents were much lower in blue light, so there wasn't as much of a problem, but now you just about can't find incandescents, and with good reason, they're not very efficient of power. So look for those light bulbs that are explicitly listed as having blue light at a much lower level. Next item of tech that we're going to talk about, continuous glucose monitor. Now, type 1 diabetics are often prescribed these devices. They usually have a little sensor patch that goes on the upper arm. Those are the things that you have to replace periodically. So those little patches go on the arm, and it's constantly monitoring glucose levels. For non-diabetics, diabetics type 1, they often are prescribed. If you're not a type 1 diabetic, you're probably going to have to pay for it out of pocket if you choose to use it. But it does have value because it can track your glucose level. That's the whole purpose of it, right? That's useful because you want to know what foods you take in that can spike your blood sugar. When you spike the blood sugar, you have a corresponding spike of insulin. That is normal physiology. But what would be really great is if we can not have as many of those foods that cause the glucose to spike. Because over time, we would like to have a more steady sugar level and not drive our pancreas crazy with having to spike insulin all the time. And it's surprising, if we look at the typical education material about blood sugar, it says no candies, no soda, and that's valid, but sometimes the weirdest things cause people's sugar to spike. I know someone who has problems with caffeine, artificial sweeteners. That CGM is going to give us information so we can identify those items. You have maybe 3 to 6 months of wearing it, and you would have a pretty good idea of what causes your particular sugar spike. So that's a useful thing to use. We have all kinds of wearables, rings, fitness trackers that can give information about heart rate and how well you're sleeping. So those are also great. Let's talk about hot and cold plunges and temperature related therapies. So the cold plunge activates what's called the mammalian dive reflex. Anybody with cardiovascular disease, this is probably not a good idea for you, because what happens, this can slow down the heart rate and cause constriction in the blood vessels if you have heart disease or blood pressure problems, that's not a good idea. So you'll want to skip that entirely. The mammalian dive reflex is a survival reflex. And basically, when the face gets submerged in cold water, the body goes into energy saving mode. So some of the things that happen, the heart rate slows down, the blood vessels in the periphery constrict in non-essential areas. Why? Remember, it's a survival reflex. We want to make sure and keep that oxygenated blood around the critical internal organs. So the blood is pooled around the heart and brain. And that is the reflex. So it can actually trigger stress relief. It's a little physiological reset for the body. And it forces the nervous system to shift. So the way that we can implement this, you're going to prepare cold water, maybe filling the sink or a bowl with ice water, temperature below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. You could also use a Ziploc bag filled with ice and water. You're going to hold your breath and submerge your face, okay, your cheeks and the area under your eyes specifically. Or you could press the bag of ice water to that area as kind of an alternative. Hold the position for 15 to 30 seconds while focusing on your breathing. This is going to trigger a rapid release of specific chemical messengers like dopamine and norepinephrine. And that can boost focus and reduce inflammation, creating this whole neurochemical reset. So dopamine is increased, sometimes 200 to 300% increase also in norepinephrine. It constricts blood vessels and flushes metabolites, significantly reducing post-exercise muscle soreness. And it also stimulates the brown adipose tissue, the brown fat, to support thermoregulation and good energy expenditure. Colder is not always better, particularly women or people who can experience a cortisol spike or something that can disrupt your thyroid function. So that's another precaution. If you have thyroid problems, this is probably not a good practice for you. The sessions should be short, 2 to 5 minutes, not consistently holding your face in the water 2 to 5 minutes, no. But repeated episodes only over that period of time. Too long actually triggers biological stress. You want to do the breath work while you're actually doing the cold plunge to help calm the mind and manage your fight or flight response. We can do contrast therapy where you have sauna and cold plunge. And this is kind of like a workout for the blood vessels, improving circulation, lymphatic drainage, and immune function. Red light therapy is another great thing that can actually be integrated with this practice of the cold plunge. So I've mentioned red light in previous videos. Red light actually helps to increase circulation and cellular energy. So if you use it in conjunction with the cold plunge, you can improve your results. So these are just some of the things that are used in the biohacking sphere, and they can actually be very helpful. But remember, there are some precautions around certain things, and whenever you're starting anything new, you want to go slowly and carefully and see how your body responds. If there are other topics that you're interested in, make sure you put them in the comments box. I look forward to reading them. And don't forget to like, and subscribe. So I'll see you in the next video.